Christian parenting.
Dysregulation is out there. It is common. There will be things that dysregulate you, but it's a part of life. And it's an opportunity to lean into the Lord to refine each of us and to partner together to live with one another as broken humans who love each other and to want to engage in healthy attachment and relationship. Hey, Called to Love families. Welcome back to the Called to Love podcast, where, as you know, it is my absolute honor to bring you the clinical, the practical, and always most importantly, the biblical aspects of the adoption and foster care callings. Guys, we're in full-blown summer mode, and that means hopefully slower pace, some church activities, and fun in the sun. We're doing some of that, but if I'm being honest, in our house, however, the lazy days of summer are kind of a fictitious concept as we have been running crazy and doing camps and all the things and already starting the dreaded back to school supply shopping. And so as much as we hope that you are enjoying your summer, let's talk a little bit today and over the next few weeks about a very common experience for us as foster and adoptive parents, and that is a daily struggle with dysregulation, how that affects our behavior and our relationships and our attachment with our kids. It's very true that a disruption to the normal schedule that we experience as families can really cause this daily struggle with dysregulation. So, for the next 5 episodes, I am going to dedicate to a new series that is all about building your regulation toolbox. So I'm going to design these as kind of micro learning because we're in the throes of getting ready for back to school and wrapping up our summer activities. But I want to provide you guys with helpful material, easy takeaways, and easy to listen episodes that can help you to build on your skills to recognize dysregulation, how it affects you as the parent, how it affects your child, and how that affects the overall dynamic of your household and your connection with your child. So each week, I'm going to focus on helpful tools related to regulation, and I'm also going to be providing some bonus content as I go through some demo videos and even a free download that is available today that I would love for you to head over to the show notes and subscribe to get that free download. It's going to give you some great visuals and reminders, and it's super cute, so you can post it in your house, and it'll be really great for you guys to work from. We'll talk more about that later on in the episode. To kick off the series today, I'm going to talk about why self and co-regulation matters as foster and adoptive parents. We're going to go specifically and talk through and answer these questions. What is dysregulation? What are the signs? Why is it important for us as foster and adoptive parents to be aware of dysregulation and be prepared? And then ultimately, I'm going to leave you with how to promote emotional and behavioral regulation in your family. So we're going to be powered packed for the next few minutes. Lean in with me. Here we go. First off, what is dysregulation? Well, by definition, if you do a quick Google search or Wikipedia, it's going to give you something along the lines of emotional dysregulation is characterized by an inability to flexibly respond to and manage emotional states, resulting in intense and prolonged emotional reactions that deviate from social norms. Dysregulation means we've had enough and our bodies and our words communicate it. That's the better way to say it, right? And for those of us with kids, it looks like meltdowns in the middle of the grocery store. It looks like shutting down. It looks like stomping out of a room. It looks like slammed doors, all types of things like that. And guess what? It affects us as parents too. It is not just our kiddos. And so let's talk a little bit about the signs of dysregulation. I'm going to start with us as adults because our kids are little barometers, and sometimes their dysregulation is honestly a result of picking up on our dysregulation. I see that in my own household. When mama ain't happy, nobody's happy. That's the old adage, right? It really is true. Our kids pick up on when we are not right, when we are not regulated, and that can exacerbate their own tendency towards dysregulation if you have kiddos in your home that are hypervigilant, hyper-aware. In our kids, we see things like behavioral tantrums, irritability, difficulty adapting to changes or changing the plans quickly, in routine or social situations. This might also look like trouble sleeping. It might look like complaints of tummy aches or headaches, a lot of pushback from your kids, a lot of whining behavior, arguing, all those different things. These can all be signs of being dysregulated. Now, this is not limited, obviously, to our adoptive and foster kiddos. This is people in general. So I'm kind of talking to everybody today. So today's episode is not just specific to our audience. Hopefully, this will be an encouragement to everyone. So share this if this is encouraging to you. Here's the question. We know what it is to be dysregulated. We all show the signs of dysregulation in different ways, and we can feed off of one another's dysregulation that can create a really challenging dynamic in the household. It can hinder connection. It can hinder God's honest design for us as families to enjoy fellowship and companionship with one another. If everybody's dysregulated and nobody's helping to lead in co-regulation and self-regulation, what do? Why is it so important that we understand this as the parents and the caregivers in our homes? Well, our kids rely on us for regulation. They look to us to model everything. Their worldview comes through what they see us saying and doing and how we're behaving. And so challenging behaviors and, high demand caregiving can really wear us down as parents, and that can make us more susceptible to dysregulation. It's just the fact. But our kids model what they see in us and how we respond to overstimulation, to stress points, to all the different things that cause us to become dysregulated. They respond in the way that we respond and then how we cope. So here's what I want to say from the get-go. Today's episode is not about how to make sure that you're never dysregulated, because friends, that's not realistic. The goal is not to avoid dysregulation. It's an inevitable reality that we live in a broken world, and it's not realistic to try to walk around and expect that we're not going to become dysregulated for various reasons. So the goal instead is to recognize the signs, to anticipate the triggers, and to practice over time and build upon healthy coping mechanisms to restore regulation on a regular basis. So there's a great example of this that the Lord just brought to me in John chapter 8. And this is the story of the woman who is found in adultery. Many of you are familiar with this story, I'm sure, but let me just set the scene in the picture for you for a moment. Jesus has come to the temple, and a woman has been caught in adultery. So the Pharisees see this as an opportunity to try to trick Jesus, to get him to contradict the law or anything that they can use against him. So they bring this woman to him in a very public place with a lot of eyes and a lot of people that they know will have big feelings around people who do not follow the law, right? So I can just imagine everyone's captured attention. It escalates, and the sound starts to get louder and louder and louder as more people decide to throw their voices in and comment on the situation. And it really just starts to escalate out of control. And you've got Jesus standing there and this woman, and people really start to get agitated. So what does Jesus do? Well, I believe that he models the perfect response to escalated interactions, to dysregulation, because everybody at that point is escalated and dysregulated. So rather than raising his voice or making a big gesture to try to get everyone's attention, he stops and he bends down and he begins to quietly write something in the sand by his feet. So again, he doesn't raise his voice to be heard over the crowd. Instead, he captures their attention and takes complete control of the situation. Ultimately, he was modeling regulation in a chaotic environment. And after he got their attention, he stood up and he gave them a thoughtful and controlled response, where he says, "Let the one among you who is without sin be the one to throw the first stone at her," right? And just like that, the escalation was diffused. There was no fiery response to fuel the escalation, but rather Jesus completely extinguishes it, and he waits for them to leave. And so they did, one by one. Now, the story doesn't quite end here, as we know, and I don't want you to miss this because I believe that this is an invaluable lesson and example for us as parents. 3 things that Jesus modeled for us in this interaction. Number 1, how to calmly diffuse an escalated situation. Number 2, he gave a controlled and thoughtful response. And number 3, he corrected the woman privately. He waited until everyone else stepped away to address the woman's behavior, and he also didn't belabor the point. He just said, "Go and sin no more." She already knew what she had done. Jesus knew what she'd done. He didn't beat a dead horse, if you will. Yours truly, I have been really, really bad and had to work really hard on not over talking and over communicating and beating that point to death. So Jesus gives us some really great examples here of how we can address escalated behavior and situations in our homes and in our families. That's why this is such a great example, because friends, there's going to be things that dysregulate you. You're going to be without sleep. There could be loud and repetitive sounds all around you, and you just get to a point where you can't take it anymore. Clutter. Oh my goodness, this dysregulates me tremendously. Challenging behaviors from our kids. High demand, constant high demand of caregiving needs. Our bodies do shut down. We've talked about blocked care before, that it is the body's natural response and the central nervous system's natural response to protect us from constant overstimulation that is not good for our bodies. So dysregulation is out there. It is common. There will be things that dysregulate you, but it's a part of life. And it's an opportunity to lean into the Lord to refine each of us and to partner together to live with one another as broken humans who love each other and to want to engage in healthy attachment and relationship. So if you would, I want you to take a moment. Number one, I would love for you to go back and revisit that story at the beginning of John chapter 8 and just read it for yourself, maybe with that lens in mind of what we just discussed. Second of all, take a moment just to consider your triggers and to consider your child's triggers. We all have them. And what I have found is the more I acknowledge them, the more I can be aware of them and I can see them coming, or I can prepare myself to respond in a better way rather than just exploding in dysregulation when I just can't take it anymore. So write them down in a journal, maybe on a Post-it note, just to kind of keep it in front of you. It's been scientifically proven that the writing process actually helps the concept to register in your brain, and then it becomes easier to identify as you work to better regulate yourself. So I want to encourage you with that exercise this week. Now, for the rest of our episode, in the next few moments, I'm going to give you a list of suggestions. Don't panic. I have created a download for you that you can access in today's show notes to go back and review and post somewhere in your home as you work together as a family to improve your regulation skills. And then it's not all just coming from you. You can go, look, here's what we're working from, and you can point to it. Also, I want to say this. Do not put pressure on yourself to integrate all of these at once. It's 10 steps. And so I don't want you to feel like you have to do all 10 because we're all going to give up. Like just reading the list and expecting to try to do them all is going to dysregulate you. So that is not the point of my list today. Instead, take one or two to focus on that you feel right now would best benefit your family, and then slowly introduce more as you go. So this list is 10 ways to promote emotional and behavioral regulation in your family. And as I begin, and as you are modeling these regulation tools, I want you to remember this. Our kids are not problems to be fixed with formulas and checklists. Our families are not problems to be fixed with formulas and checklists. These are tools to be able to utilize as you are working to better love and serve your family. That's ultimately the goal. Okay, you ready? Top 10 things that I put together for you in this episode today. Number one, maintaining healthy authority. Jesus models this. He had complete authority in John chapter 8 over that entire situation, and he stewarded that authority well. And he gives us the example in how he does this. He was in control of his body language, his tone of voice, and his words. This is how we maintain healthy authority in our homes and with our children. It basically communicates to them, I love you, I mean business, and I'm here to help you succeed. I'm going to say that again. I love you, I mean business, and I'm here to help you succeed. But you will communicate that far better when you are in control of your body language, your tone of voice, and the words that come out of your mouth. So number one is maintaining healthy authority. Number two, creating a calm environment. This can be really difficult when you're out and about. We can't control how loud the music is at the grocery store or different things like that when we're not in our homes. But what we can control is the environment in our homes. And so here's just some practical ways that you can just bring the anxiety level down or the stimulus level down in your home. And that's simple things like lighting candles, Maybe even consider ones that do not have a scent associated with them, because sometimes scent triggers more stimulation if it's one that doesn't agree with somebody in your home. So scent-free candles or diffusers with calming scents that everybody enjoys. I love to have just worship music or instrumental music playing in the background of my home on different devices. And sometimes even words are too much for me. Even in worship songs, I just need instrumental because it just helps my brain to relax. So that's another good example. As Christian parents, we all want to be praying for our kids, but knowing what to pray can be really hard sometimes. That's why Christian Parenting created its newest resource, a great Cloud of Witnesses prayer journal. This is to help busy parents like you and me to intentionally pray over our children and their faith all year long. This weekly journal walks through the lives of faithful men and women in Scripture like Abraham, Sarah, Moses, and Rahab, who all trusted an extraordinary God. It helps you to pray boldly for your kids, to follow in their footsteps, grow in godly character, deepen their faith, and trust in God's plan for their lives. And bonus, every Monday on the Pardon the Mess podcast, host Courtney DeFeo will be praying through the journal with you. You can visit cpgive.org and use code CLOUD to get your special podcast listener discount. That's cpgive.org, code CLOUD. Now let's get back to the conversation. Something else is a cozy place in your home where you might have a blanket basket where it's our favorite fuzzy, comfy, cozy blankets, maybe in the family room or in a reading room, something like that. Having those comfies that you know you can go to and you can wrap yourself up in and just take a moment in the calm of your home helps dysregulation tremendously. Soft lighting. There is a lot of study right now of the effects of fluorescent lighting, or even just some of the brighter lights that have more of the blue tendency as opposed to the softer yellow, more natural light. And so that might be something we're actually in the process of changing out a lot of the bulbs and our canned lighting in our home for this reason, just to make sure that soft lighting, it just creates a little bit more of a calm environment. Something practical you might not have thought about, but it's definitely been helpful for us. Create in the rhythm of your day a designated rest or reading time to where they are guaranteed a calm environment for both you and for your kids. Again, I look to Jesus for this example. He got away regularly to regulate and to connect with his Father. So for me, practically, that looks like every day I go out and I sit on my back porch swing and I look at my flowers, I listen to the birds, I read my Bible, I pray, I just talk to the Lord aloud, and I allow my body and my brain to just rest. Now, sometimes that looks like 3 minutes because my people find me, but I'm grateful for those 3 minutes. And maybe that's a time where you are able to get up before everybody else and you enjoy that. I love going out first thing in the morning and making my hot tea and enjoying that routine. A lot of times I'll do it morning and night because it just kind of helps me to sit and enjoy what my body needs in that calm environment. Okay, number 3, clear, predictable routines. Now, I put in parentheses here, within reason. I don't want you to feel like you have to be regimented in your day. That's another thing that's not realistic, just like not becoming dysregulated ever. But as much as you can, within reason, create clear, predictable routines for your kids, because it does support more felt safety for our kids, especially who struggle with anxiety and control. So here's an example for your morning routine. Maybe you're telling your kids, hey, after you get up, go potty and brush your teeth, we're going to talk about the plans for today while we eat breakfast. And you go through and you say, okay, today we're going to go to school, then we've got piano lessons, and then we're going to have this for dinner, again, within reason. But something like that helps to set the tone of the day where they know that you know what's going to happen, so they can relax a little bit and some of that hypervigilance can settle down in their brains. My daughter is like this. She wants to know the plan. And I had to set a rule. Again, I'm telling on our family. But as soon as she's out of the bed, most of the time she comes out, what are you doing today? Where are we going? Who's going to be there? I don't have to go, sweetheart. Mama's having her quiet, calm time right now. And please don't ask me any questions until I've finished my cup of tea. And it just buys me some time to get my head around that. I'm going to talk about that more here in just a moment and another point. But that's one example of creating those clear, predictable routines. Maybe if you've got littles and you've got the time and the margin and you like doing this, you can kind of create a family schedule or a family chart that's posted in one of the main rooms of your homes that everybody knows today's spaghetti night, or tonight we're going to a basketball game, or whatever that might look like for you. If you've got those predictable rhythms for the kids, then that's really going to be a blessing. I've shared this with you before, but most Sunday nights, our family can be found either around the dinner table or in the living room, even if it's just for 5 minutes, going through the plethora of emails that we get because of our age and stage of life with all of our kids' activities. On Sunday nights, I sit down with a calendar. I go, okay, where does everybody have to be? When are we, eating together on these nights? And what does this look like? Who has practice when? Who's got this activity? All those different things. And we sit down on that first day of the week and we establish the next several days to come so that we know where we need to be and what we're going to be doing. Okay, number 4, model emotional regulation. And this is going to include, over the next few episodes, a lot of the calming and coping strategies that I'm going to dive deeper into in more detail. But I want to say this as we're talking about modeling emotional regulation. Not only is it okay, it is extremely helpful for your kids to see you self-regulate in front of them. Now, if you need to step away, you can calmly tell your child that you're taking a moment to calm down, give them a time frame in which you're going to return. For example, mommy needs a minute to calm down. I'm a little frustrated right now. I'm going to step into this room and I'm going to breathe and I'm going to pray and I will be back in 5 minutes. Whatever that might look like, feel free to adjust as it works best for your family. But that's a great example of you're not exploding, you're not reacting, you are giving a controlled response in your tone of voice, your body posture, and the words that you're giving your kids. That is going to be a game changer. It has been for me. So modeling emotional regulation is key for them. And that goes back to what I was saying a moment ago. In the past, I would get super frustrated when my daughter would come out and just hammer me with questions, and I would escalate so quickly, and then I would snap. So instead, I curb all of that and I head it off at the pass before it even happens. And I'll say things like, I understand you have questions. I'm going to be happy to answer them. But right now, mommy's having her Bible time, and let's not ask any questions until I've finished my tea. Now, you want to bet she's sitting and watching at the window, and when mommy's cup is empty and she's right back out there? Absolutely. But that creates some predictability there. And I have already mentally prepared myself. Okay, the questions are coming. My tea is empty and I'm ready to engage in that way rather than snapping at my child. Okay, number 5, validate emotions while maintaining respect. This is a big one because we don't want our kids to live life in all their feels, right? Our feelings are deceptive. They are unpredictable. They ebb and flow. It can be the highest of high and the lowest of low in a 90-second time frame, right? And so we want to be really careful to balance validating the emotion, but also maintaining that as their authority figure, we require respect from them because that's what Scripture models for the parent-child relationship, right? So start with I statements. These will be helpful rather than just blaming your child. If your child comes to you and they're already escalated and then they are feeling like you are just, why are you doing that? Why do you always? And it's this push of almost a blame game. Then when their brain is already escalated, those blaming statements will be amplified as further perceived attack, which can elevate the escalation rather than de-escalate it. Okay. So instead, try statements like, I see you're frustrated right now, but I still need you to be respectful. Something else like, I understand you're disappointed and I'm happy to listen. Let's use better words. Things like that. So you're starting with me, like, I see you. I am here with you. I am engaging with you. However, in order to continue this conversation in a healthy way, you are requiring something of your child as well. And that's not an unfair ask for you to have and model that balance of, I validate you. I see that something's off with you, but we're going to maintain respect as we move forward and coming together to create a resolution. Number 6, teach emotional language and awareness. We've talked about this many times as we talk about trauma parenting, but behavior indicates a need. Our kids do not always have the words to express their feelings, whether they're littles or whether they are coming to you from a trauma situation where they have not been taught. So they use their behaviors to express the need and their feelings, and they act out if they are not equipped with better tools. So that's where we come in, and we lovingly teach them the language so that they don't have to resort to escalation to get their needs met or to develop bad behavior habits. I mean, ultimately, manipulative adults started as manipulative kids, and that behavior was never corrected and redirected. Just I'm going to call it like it is. And so we don't want to breed that in our kids for their sake. We want them to be able to grow up and to experience healthy attachment and healthy communication styles and ways to communicate their needs without it creating more conflict for others. I think that's a big part of our stewardship as parents. So some helpful tools for this, and I will have these in your download today as clickable links, but you can hop on Amazon really quick and type in feelings charts or calming charts. And for our visual friends, this will be really, really helpful, especially if you've got younger ones. It has their color coded and it has the little faces and it has words for each of the feelings, and you can go through. I highly recommend you reviewing these together as a family when everyone is calm and you're not waiting until an escalated situation, because their brain can't process information when they're melting down and they're dysregulated. So I would encourage you just to take this as an opportunity to connect with your kids and make it fun and engaging. And then that will start to create some muscle memory in their brains when they are escalated and dysregulated. You can go to that and they're not going to attack that as well. And so those are some really great examples of all of that. And number 7, use positive reinforcement. Things like, I can see how hard you're working to use your words, and I am so proud of you. Something else like, I am so proud of how you were able to calm yourself down just now. Identify specific moments. And listen, guys, I can be the worst at this because I'm just in a go, go, go mode and get it done and check all the boxes because we are in a fast and furious season of life. But when you pause to see your child and to call out in a positive way a specific thing that they're doing well or that they're even trying on, they might have still ultimately failed and had a meltdown. But really, for those first 90 seconds, they tried really hard to do their breathing exercises or they tried really hard to use their words. And it just, call that out. And use that positive reinforcement to say, I see you and I'm proud of you and I'm here. We're going to keep working together and we're going to get better at this together, right? Number 8. This is a tough one, especially in today's parenting culture. Providing boundaries. Boundaries ultimately make kids feel safe. They will naturally push back, but it is not our jobs to make them quote unquote happy. It is our job as parents to give them what they need. And sometimes that's a healthy no. And giving our kids moments and boundaries that frustrate them does not mean we're failing as parents. When we are giving them what they need, especially in situations where they don't have the ability to understand long-term effects, whether it be friendships, whether it be movies or music that they are not allowed to engage with, different things like that, that comes back to still requiring respect as their authority figure and then providing those boundaries and love. Here's a really hot button example of this is screens. There is more than sufficient research that shows that excessive use of screens can agitate sensitive brains and trigger reactivity in our kids. And so that's a great one as an example to use for boundaries. I'm not saying, no, you can have this time, you can have this game or this platform or whatever that might look like, but it's going to be within these limits and under my observation at all times. Other examples of this, of how much sugar we allow them to consume. Food dyes that are in certain foods that we know are going to trigger their reactivity and cause dysregulation more. Not enough sleep. So the inevitable bedtime battle that we have, creating boundaries around bedtime to make sure that their bodies are getting what they need. And then avoiding those trigger environments. Yeah, you know that there's a birthday party at this one environment that is always going to result in a meltdown. You creating a healthy alternative to that, but also knowing that's a boundary we're not going to cross because ultimately you know what's best for your child. So those are some examples of providing healthy boundaries. Number 9, encourage problem solving and explore solutions for future escalations. Really what this looks like is giving them ownership. After your children have calmed down, ask them in a situation, hey, what could we do better next time? What better response could you have given me in the midst of your frustration? And then ask your kids how they would like for you to help them to do better next time. Engage in conversation with them, but give them ownership, reminding them that behavior is a choice and that they have other options. And the older they get, the more accountable they are for making the better choices because you know that you've given them the tools and equipped them to do that. So, and promote self-efficiency. Promote their ability to, I know you can do this. let me hear your best guess, unless, they just want you to give them the answer so that they can blow through something. That's one of the things my kids, it drives them crazy. But Mom, how do you spell this word? Well, what's your best guess? And we work through it together. So it's little examples like that. But my tone and my body language is always the same. It's not, oh, why do you always ask me that question? Or why can't you get the spelling word right? Engage them and give them some ownership in figuring out the problem. And don't be afraid to let them struggle through it a little bit, but sit there in it with them and let them know that you're there to encourage them. Giving choices in the midst of power struggles is also a game changer. And this falls under this empowering them to do this without it becoming a battle. So you're still maintaining your healthy authority. You are clearly communicating what you are requiring of them, but you're also ultimately getting your way in the sense of accomplishing what you have asked. So for example, you need your child to get dressed. Rather than saying, I need you to go get dressed, it's, hey, would you like to wear the blue shirt or the green shirt? This gives them a power of choice. They're taking ownership in what they're wearing, but you're still accomplishing the task of getting your kiddo dressed. Eating, for example, would you like grilled cheese or a peanut butter and jelly sandwich for lunch today? Both are accomplishing the task that you're requiring of your child, but you're eliminating that power struggle and you're giving them ownership of something that they can succeed in. And then you follow up with that positive reinforcement that we just talked about a minute ago. Okay, last one, friends. Hope you're still with me. Be curious, be patient, and be consistent. So be curious about recognizing the patterns of escalations in your kids. If you geek out like me, I might keep a little journal somewhere in my purse if I'm out in public and I see something that or a pattern of things, places that we're going, people that we're interacting with, foods that they're eating, things like that, every time we do this, we see dysregulation. Keep a journal of that and be curious with your child as you observe all of that. Patience, listen, it is something that I have learned the hard way. When I asked God to help me with patience, He gave me trials like this to be able to learn how to practice day in and day out patience and observing that through consistency, little victories build up to huge wins over time. So friends, I hope that this checklist has been helpful for you, and I hope I've been able to share it in a way that you're able to process and apply. Again, let me remind you, don't feel like you have to do all of these at once, but over time, implement them little by little, and we will dive in over the next 4 weeks into more detail about specific methods that will fall into these categories and provide you with tools to help you and your kids to both self and co-regulate. So stay tuned. Guys, if this episode has encouraged you, would you share it with others? Tag me on social media if you want to tag the cover art for the show. Send friends a link to the episode. Guys, we're growing and I'm so grateful for it. And I'm hearing from more and more of you, your questions, your stories. And it's just such an honor to be able to do this with you. And the more people we share it with, the more families that we can serve as a Called to Love community. So thank you so much for partnering with me in this. And lastly, I have just loved hearing from so many of you this summer. So if you have questions or if you would like for me to dive deeper into a topic, please send me an email at the link in today's show notes, and I would love to hear from and respond to you. And don't forget to head over after you hit stop on today's episode and grab the free download for the top 10 things that I just shared with you to help you to be able to establish emotional and behavioral regulation in your home. Friends, it's always an honor to be with you. Stick with me next week as we dive into the first of our tools to help you and your family to regulate well. And I look forward to being back with you then. Blessings, sweet friends. Thank you so much for listening to Called to Love today. I love to hear from listeners, and so I would love to connect with you to hear your stories and answer your questions right here on the show. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram, send me a direct message, or send me an email at the link in today's show notes. I pray you have been encouraged by today's episode to walk in faith and continue to embrace your own call to love. Until next time, blessings, sweet friends.